Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Catch the NFL podcast, where we give you up to date NFL news, NFL debate, and most importantly, fantasy football predictions. You've got your boy John here and our boy Steven on the other side. What is going on, man?
Ain't nothing much, man. It's been a rough past week and a half for the Colts. Just lost Quentin Nelson too to the same injury.
Yeah, and tough break. And
Mhm.
how odd is it that it's the same exact injury as well?
Yeah, it's kind of it is kind of bizarre,
So are you
especially with how weird the injury is in general.
Are you a Jets fan now? Are you moving teams?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch over to the Jets. A lot of promising players there that we'll go over, but how can you not get behind the 15-year-old looking Zach Wilson?
Yeah, we'll get into it all. But yeah, I mean that's kind of your top breaking news. I mean, obviously we have Carson Wentz, which we did a video on. We'll link it below. But as well, I mean, what a blow to Colts fans to get the news of Quentin Nelson the next day. So rough week, rough week. I feel for you, man.
Yeah, man. But I think it's definitely got some implications. I mean, like I had texted you earlier this week, I think you could see a guy like Tannehill just feast on three bad teams now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that division has just gotten a little scattered. So it could be a rough season for the Colts.
Yeah, it's going to be tough pickings there.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the team we're going to dissect pretty deeply tonight? Buffalo Bills wanting to possibly get out of town and move to Austin, Texas.
Dude, that's rough, man. I mean, the Bills have like one of the best fan bases, I feel like, at least in the
Yeah,
NFL.
absolutely.
I guess it's mostly about like the financial or the financing resources. I guess that the owner wants to have publicly funding resources to kind of build out a new stadium. Guess it's going to be like a $1.5 billion proposal. So I get that, I guess, but it does suck. I mean, I want to see these Bills fans go crazy.
Bills Mafia, man. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like they might be the most loyal fan base ever.
Them and the Browns. I mean, Browns were right there with
Yeah.
them, but I mean, the amount of Super Bowls the Bills lost back to back to back against those Cowboys. So, I
Yeah.
mean, they were right there with them too.
We went to a Bills Buffalo Washington game a couple years back around Christmas time, and we were like Washington was trashing the Bills that day. Kirk Cousins was going wild. I don't know if you
Kurt,
remember that
I
game, but it
don't
was.
remember this game at all.
Oh, really? It was me
No,
and your
no.
mom. No way. Yeah.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
a Christmas present. I went with you guys. It was like
Oh, this is
maybe
we
four
gave you
years
some
ago.
charity. We
Yeah,
gave you
yeah,
some
yeah.
charity.
Yeah, I need it. But
That's awesome.
yeah, Tyrod Taylor was playing too, I think, for the Bills. Yeah.
Geez,
And
that's a
anyways,
battle of heavyweights there.
the point being, we were trashing the Bills, and we had all these Bills fans around us, and they were like, not only like super cool about their team getting trashed, but they were like very intellectual. Like they had a lot of hope. They had a lot of optimism. They're like at pointing out what was going well on the field during like a blowout game as well.
But
So
they were also probably trashed as well too, knowing those Bills fans. They were
yeah,
probably
that's true.
hammered drunk.
That's
Yeah, on
true.
those $15 beers.
Uh, yeah, right. So before we dissect the Bills, we do want to give a shout out to our first comment ever on the channel. My boy Michael O came coming out saying, "Great content and great analysis." I agree. Humbly agree. Great sentence right there. Rest of the comment, but homeboy in the black shirt, being me, needs more enthusiasm in his voice. Listening to him feels like a sermon from a geriatric priest. Liven it up a bit, bro. Don't make it sound so much like it's sure. So shout out to Michael calling me out, calling me the geriatric priest. I don't think that's ever going to leave this podcast. But on a serious note, we appreciate you watching the video. We appreciate the feedback, and we appreciate the comment as well. So shout out to Michael. You are officially part of the
Hey,
Catch fam.
absolutely, Michael. Thank you, man. And anybody else out there too, your comments. We'd love to do a video for you guys too, but also any sort of feedback or anything. It all helps out, man. You guys are all a
Absolutely.
part of this too. This is for you guys, and it's part of it.
Hey, Steven's doing it for the people, like
Hey,
usual.
but I
So
will say it's pretty cool. I didn't get any negative feedback. I will say
hey,
that.
he may have just been hitting me so hard he didn't have time to give you
Yeah.
any. So let's dive into the Buffalo Bills here. So obviously my trio tonight going to be Josh Allen. I'm going to put down Devin Singletary, which a lot of people I think will probably disagree with, and then Stephon Diggs. Right. So the interesting thing with this team, in the off season going into the season here is, did they change enough? Did they do enough this off season? Did they need to do anything? Are they already a Super Bowl caliber team with what we've seen last year? Was Stephon Diggs' addition last year? Obviously, it made a difference, but did they
Mhm.
need to do more? Did they need to add, something offensively or defensively in the offseason? So, I think they're, obviously the favorites to win the division, a favorite to be a good playoff team as well. Josh Allen, somebody who, I've always been a fan of. I wish I had it on record because every time I was watching him play, even as a rookie, where every time I watched him play, I'm like, there's something here,
Mhm.
And I remember watching him 2019 on Thanksgiving Day with my aunt, and I was like, God, that dude's good. Like
Dude,
he
he's a
can make some
beast.
plays, yeah.
Yeah, he is a beast.
And just watching it come to fruition last year was awesome, And I'm a huge Josh Allen fan, but I there is like a little bit of concern at the back of my head for this squad, and
Mhm.
I actually think this is the most interesting division we've talked about to date. I really think there's a lot going on here. And like I worry that they don't have a run game, first of all. Like I wish they had a stud running back on this team. And like I like both these running backs, but even looking at my argument for my trio, I'm just like, Devin Singletary rushed for more yards last year. I think Zach Moss has the potential to be a better receiving back, but when you look at the stats, Devin Singletary had better receiving stats last year. So I'm like, I don't know. And then
Yeah,
I worry about the receiver position as well outside of Diggs, but I'll let you go ahead.
no. I will say I agree with everything you just said there 100% outside about the receiving core. I actually think this is a pretty strong receiving core.
It is, yeah, it
Yeah,
is. But go ahead.
being led off by Stephon Diggs, obviously, but you acquire Emmanuel Sanders, a seasoned vet who I think is really, really good still. You got Cole Beasley there still. If everything works out, he does play this season.
Yeah.
And then a guy that I'm excited about, kind of a deep sleeper on this team, Gabe Davis. If you can catch him at the very end of this draft, I mean, this is a guy who can really blow up. I mean, he played well at the end of the last season, but if you can get a deep ball receiver with the pair up with Josh Allen, who I don't know if you saw, but just he has the highest arm strength in Madden. And
Did
to
last year
be,
too, yeah.
yeah, I do bake in a heck of a lot of regression to next season just because it has to happen.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, I mean, the amount that he jumped from 2 years ago to last year, it was pretty astronomical. But um, with that said, I mean, this is a guy who I think, put him with Andy Reid in Kansas City. How much different is he from Patrick Mahomes? And I think Patrick Mahomes is maybe the best thing we've ever seen.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities there. And just to touch on the receivers really quick, like obviously Diggs is my guy for this trio. There's really like no reason to debate it. And I love Cole Beasley, and I hope he plays. I hope he's there by the start of the season. I think he will be at least, by mid-season, obviously, but maybe not obviously, but in my opinion, right. And I love Emmanuel Sanders. I think it's a great addition to replace John Brown. I almost wish they re-signed John Brown and
Mm-hmm.
kept and then went out and signed Emmanuel Sanders. But I just kind of wish that offensively they had just like one more it player, that they went out and just got, one more strong weapon for Josh Allen. And I think Dawson Knox is a really good tight end and a great, I think Jacob Hollister, is a good serviceable number
I
two
like
tight end.
Hollister. I really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Hollister. I actually
Yeah.
think there's because I'm high on Dawson Knox too. Don't get me wrong. This is a guy who I think has insane up potential, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, Jacob Hollister proved a lot when he was in Seattle when he got the chance. This
Yeah.
guy could maybe take over snaps at tight end this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't know. This division's got my head in like a million directions because I'm like, I just wish that this offense had one more kind of splash, and I kind of worry about this defense a little bit. I think they're a pretty good overall squad, but I just wish they had like they went out and they got a stud corner or even a veteran corner, in the off season. So I'm just for whatever reason, I think this team's going to win the division. I
Yeah.
do, and I think there's some other good teams in this division. And I just worry. I think I worry more about this team in the playoffs than anything. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the end of the day, I think the quarterbacks are going to what kind of brings you to the championship. And when I look at the AFC in particular, I'm not sure there's a team outside of Kansas City that can really say we're going to beat you. I mean, I don't. Do you see the Ravens beating the Bills? Yeah, maybe, right? But I think that's it.
Hey, I mean, your Colts almost beat them in the playoffs.
No,
You got
yeah, I mean,
outcoached, man.
yeah, this season, obviously things have happened since then. Yeah, thanks for reminding. But
I'm just saying,
I
man.
I do think we could have obviously been in that,
Well, Philip
good.
Rivers is coming back, bro.
Honestly though, dude, like how much I was not a fan of him last year, but I would welcome him to this point because obviously this is a separate topic, but Nick Foles, what does that do to Carson Wentz's head? I don't
Yeah,
even know. They
yeah,
totally screw him up. But
yeah,
staying with Josh Allen and kind of when he stacks up against these other quarterbacks, I just think he's got what it takes to bring him over and make up for the fact that they have zero running backs that are really difference makers. Um,
yeah. I think it's a great point. I mean, at the end of the day, I do agree. Like, I think Josh Allen can carry this team completely on his back. I think he's
mhm,
the guy. He's going to get a massive freaking contract the next year or so. He's as good as they come in the NFL, and some people would debate like he's got to prove that still. Like he's got to come out this
mhm.
year and he's got to do what he did last year again. But I have full confidence that he will. Barring any injury.
I hope, and I love their coach. I think he's actually
Yeah,
top
yeah,
three
yeah.
coach in the
Oh
league.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love him,
Sean
but I
McDermott.
really
Yeah.
hope, yeah, I hope he does. Hey, William and Mary alumni,
There you
that's
go,
what's
man.
up.
There you go,
Him
man.
and Mike Tomlin, baby, that's what's up. But I really hope he doesn't put the reins on him and try to pull Josh Allen in a little bit next year because I think that's what
Yeah,
really elevated this offense.
yeah,
And if you keep Stephon Diggs healthy next season, I think this is just as explosive of an offense. Josh Allen's still going to be the primary goal line back too, which is scary. I mean,
yeah,
he
yeah,
is the rushing upside.
yeah. I mean, his rushing stats from last year were great. I mean, like
Yeah.
it kind of like it's no knock on like Lamar or Kyler because they can throw the ball. I mean, Kyler can definitely throw the ball as we saw against the Bills last
Mhm.
year. But kind of the
That was a
edge
fun
with
game.
Josh Allen is like this dude can definitely throw the damn football, right?
Mhm.
But he can also run it. He doesn't. I don't feel like he needs to run it as much as those other two, Lamar and Kyler. But it's there, right? And
Mhm.
I think it's a good point that they might try and kind of ring him in, probably to try and prevent any injuries, if anything. But and just to kind of switch notes here, like I do think Stephon Diggs is that dude. Like
Oh, he
I'm all,
is that dude. Yeah.
yeah, and like I'm so happy to see him on a team who just like fully embraced him. I think the
Mhm.
Vikings kind of held him back a little bit. I think it's the main reason he wanted out in Minnesota. But uh, he only scored 8 touchdowns last year, which it felt like he scored like 20.
Mhm.
I'm looking for Diggs to have a better year than last year. Like he had a great year last year. 166 targets, 127 receptions, just over 1,500 receiving yards and 8 scores. But I think he's going to put up some mad numbers this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that, we just did a mock draft together and I took Devontae Adams, but there is a lot of scenarios where I'm going to take a guy like Stephon Diggs at the top of the second because he is so, so good. He has so much upside. I mean, imagine pairing him with a guy like Najee Harris or a guy like Nick Chubb or something, which you can definitely do. I mean, that's a stacked first 2 rounds. And I think what also separates Spawn Diggs from maybe other receivers. I mean, I think he's pretty properly placed at number 3, right behind Devontae and Tyreek. But um, you know, getting back to Josh Allen, I mean, look at his attempts from 2018 to 2020. 2018, he had 320. 2019, he had 461. 2020, he had 572. So just gone up by a lot every year, more and
Yep.
more trust. And his completion percentage has gone up every single year too,
Yep.
and his passing yards and his touchdowns. And at the same time, his interceptions have stayed the same or lowered. So this is a guy who year over year has proven keep giving me more and more work, and I'm going to go
Yeah.
out there and execute at a higher rate.
Yeah. So, you brought up fantasy a bit. So, my question tonight for you is, which one of these two running backs are you drafting? You've got they're pretty close. I mean, you got Zach Moss, RB
Mm-hmm.
on average number 39, Singletary's RB on average 42, and they're going like 10 spots away from each other at 102 and 113. So, are you
Yeah,
would you draft either? Or if you had to, who would you draft? Because
yeah,
this
I'm going
Bills
to say,
offense is going to be legit. I mean, someone's
yeah,
going to
you
get handed the
definitely
ball.
you want a piece of an offense like this for sure. With that said, I'm not touching either of these guys, and I definitely wouldn't recommend touching either of these guys. But I think if I had to lean a certain way, it would be it would be Singletary, just because you can take them a slight bit later.
Yeah,
But I do think the guy that has probably the best season next year is going to be Zach Moss. But the bottom line is it's just not going to be that much better that it's worth
yeah,
jumping up to get him.
yeah.
But when looking at this offense, I really see it as Josh Allen, the receiving core, and then that's it.
Yeah. I mean,
Because they're just not built that way.
they don't have to run the ball. Yeah,
Um,
I guess my thing is like, what if they could run the ball? Like, what if
it,
they had that dude back there? You know what I'm saying? Not
yeah,
to take
yeah.
away from what Josh Allen could do, but gotta be scary, right?
Well, yeah, and I think people ask the question about you look at the Ravens too. It's like obviously, yeah, they had J.K. Dobbins come on last year, but the offenses are kind of built similarly, where the entire offense is built around the quarterback and what they can do with their legs as well as their arm, which definitely makes the running back position even less valuable than it already has become in today's NFL. But the Bills, they came out this offseason, and I think the coaches talked about the reason we're not going to draft a running back in the draft this year is because, invest in the O line. We think our O line's getting better,
Sure.
because we think that's what's really going to make the run game get better, because
Yeah.
they identified it as a weak spot of this team,
Yeah.
but at the same time they think it's the O line that can really change it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad strategy. Like, I think both Singletary and Moss have shown flashes.
Mhm.
There's been like one or two games Singletary where you're like, oh yeah, like that dude's gonna be good, especially his rookie year. And he did have some injuries that year,
He's
so
shifty. He is shifty.
I think
He
yeah,
can't break big ones, and it
yeah.
hurts you in fantasy if you can't do that.
I think they're both good backs, so I hope it works out in that sense
Hmm.
too. And I think if anything, like a final takeaway for this squad is I think there's just a lot of trust from the front office and from the coaching staff as well.
Hmm.
Like, hey, we've got our group. Like we don't need anyone else. So maybe it has me worried a bit, but maybe it's a good thing. It's a sign of confidence, right, from this team, this organization, and if they're confident, then it doesn't really matter. The rest is going to work
Yeah,
itself out.
it's kind of the same strategy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. Obviously, it's a little bit easier when you win it, but at
Yeah,
the end of the day, it's like if you feel confident in every single man in that locker room, you run it back the next year,
yeah,
because that builds chemistry, and chemistry is sometimes better than added talent. See a
sure.
lot of teams that invest in a free agency and just bringing in new players every year that ends up just tanking their season win total year over year.
Yeah, and I think I mean they've got a relatively tough schedule too, and I think like this division is going to be relatively good as well.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to be an interesting year, but I definitely still see this team in the playoffs. So
Oh yeah,
I
oh
do
yeah.
want to shift gears. I mean, the Bills are legit. I think we both agree on that, correct?
Hmm. Yeah, oh, for sure.
Sean
I definitely think
McDermott
they're
is
legit.
a definitely top three coach in the league. We gotta give Sean McDermott more credit, man. What he's done with this organization,
Turn it around.
yeah, for
Turn it
sure.
around.
And I mean, don't forget they were in the playoffs, like with Tyrod Taylor and Sean McDermott and all that. I mean,
That's crazy.
he's a damn good coach, and I
Yeah.
think Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback. So I think we're both excited for the Bills, but
Mhm.
what kind of shapes, who they're part of who they're going to be is the rest of this division. Like I said, I'm like just turning my head with this divisions. It's just wild. So I'm gonna let
Mhm.
you hop into the Pats a little bit and start to break them down as well.
Yeah, Pat's the old reign of this AFC East. Now you can maybe say that the Bills have it, but this is a Pats team that I think got pretty devastated by COVID opt outs. They were actually rated to be the one that was impacted the most by it because they had the highest rate of players that decided we're not going to play for this season, and that included players like Dante Hightower. They had also other guys like Marcus Cannon, who would have been their starting tackle, Patrick Chung, who has since retired. But bottom line is, this is a team that's going to come back healthy. This was probably the worst roster that Bill Belichick's ever coached. And
Yep.
he had what, 7 wins last season. I mean, a lot of people do say that there is an element of this where maybe the best coaching performance by Bill Belichick in his entire career.
Yeah, I've heard the argument. Yeah.
No, it was like, yeah, it was like 7 wins, I think,
Yeah.
last season. Pretty
Yeah, I
impressive.
believe you're right. Yeah, and I mean they almost were a 9-win team, like a 10-win
Yeah.
team. They were in some close games too,
Hmm.
especially if in the earlier part of the season. But yeah, and I think when you're looking at this team, especially their defense, he was like historical 2 seasons ago.
Hmm.
And you're getting Dante Hightower back. That's got to be the biggest off season. I don't want to say addition because obviously he opted out because of COVID. But
Hmm.
I mean, I think the addition of Kyle Van Noy is huge. Like the Dolphins cut him really to save some money. Other than that, for no reason because he played great for them. And Bill Belichick's like called him right
Yeah.
away. I feel like, hey, I got you, man. It's
Well, I think
my
some people
back.
just fit the Belichick system too, and I think Calvin Noy too. I mean, he is a Patriot player,
Yep.
and so that he was a killer when he was playing for New England too.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved him there. But when you get into this offense, it was disgusting last year, and especially after Cam kind of got hurt. But
Yeah.
this is a team that offensively they could not throw it. It was really gross watching some of their late season games.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously the squad, his organization went out and spent a lot of money in the offseason. Like Bill's sitting there watching the Bucks win the Super Bowl, and he's like pulling out the checkbooks, calling everyone he knows. I mean, like,
Get in
uh,
here, please.
yeah, they went wild, but I love it because I feel like that's something that Belichick never really does, and you look at, I mean,
I
I
love
think.
it, but with an asterisk.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are some question marks, some questionable players here, a lot of veterans, but I think the biggest thing that stands out for me personally is the two tight ends, Hunter Henry and Johnny
Hmm.
Smith, who I think are both exceptional, tight ends, and I think it'll be interesting if they can kind of mimic some of the things Belichick has done in the past with two tight ends out there. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and that definitely jumps into my trio. I do think there's going to be a lot of disagreement at the quarterback position. I'm going to take Cam Newton, and I'll explain why. But then at running back, I am going to take Damian Harris. And then for receiver, I'm going to take Hunter Henry. So kind of who I envision to be the lead guy out of this tight end group of the two acquisitions I had, Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith. Um,
you're taking a
but
tight end.
I'm taking the tight end out of this receiving group. I think it's going to be, if you're talking who's going to have the biggest fantasy upside.
Hmm.
I think with the two tight end set, I think they're going to focus and go back to running the ball, dumping it off, and hitting these two tight ends, similar to like you were saying when they had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. I think this is the bread and butter of the Patriots way, and they want to make it simple for whether it be Cam Newton or whether it be mac and cheese when he comes in. I
Fat
mean,
Mac.
yeah, I like Mac a lot too,
Hey,
man, because
all I'm hearing are good things about my dude Fat Mac.
dude, he's killing it. And like, do you
Yeah.
really like think he wouldn't? And also, side note, I hope he keeps the number 50. That would be badass. That would be badass, at least
Yeah,
until Madden comes out. So
yeah.
we can play with a quarterback number 50. But
I well here I'll let you keep going. There's a lot I can say. So
no. Actually, it might be good for you to jump in on mac and cheese because
well I like calling him Fat Mac because always sunny. So I'm like always biased towards anything that has the name Mac in it
Pat?
because my favorite TV character all time, Mac from
Yeah,
Always Sunny.
man.
So
Shout out Always Sunny in
yeah,
Philadelphia.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you. Like, I think Mac Jones is going to be the guy in New England.
Hmm.
I'm not going to be surprised if Cam comes out and plays like the first 4 games. But
Hmm.
if Cam comes out and he's just not performing, like obviously it's just going to be like the timer's just going to be ticking. The
Hmm.
fans want Mac Jones out there. I think Belichick wants Jones out there too. Like I think he really wanted to draft this
Yeah.
guy. Um,
Yeah.
and I think there's kind of the main way to look at this, at least for my perspective, is like uh, I think it might just be best to move on. Like I like Cam Newton. I always have.
Hmm.
Um, I, I want to see him succeed. I want to see him succeed with New England. But it's like, how long can he just kind of let him linger at the quote unquote starting quarterback position when you've got a guy that you moved up to draft? Did they even have to move up to draft him?
Mac Jones, he slid. He slid all the
Yeah, that's
way.
right. They didn't even have to.
Yeah.
They didn't even have to move up, but like, still a guy that you got in the first round. And just all the things you hear from teammates already coming out,
Hmm.
just through the off season and training camp.
Including Cam Newton,
Yeah, including Cam Newton. Yeah,
talking up
yeah.
on Mac Jones.
So I don't know. I feel like it might just be best, like the sooner you can put this to rest and let Mac and Cheese Fat Mac go out there and see what he can do. And it's like it's gonna
Hmm.
there's kind of this debate right now, like do you do the Patrick Mahomes method and let the young guys sit for a year,
Hmm.
or do you just throw them out there? Do the Justin Herbert, stab your quarterback in the chest and throw your rookie out there as soon as you can, and see if you have a Justin Herbert or not. So I don't know. For me, I don't disagree with you, but I'm not gonna be surprised either way.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I go with a guy like Cam Newton, because this trio set here, this is supposed to talk about who I think is going to bring actually the most value. And there's just a part of me that really feels like this could become a similar situation to New Orleans, where it's like a 50-50 type of role here. I mean, I think it's definitely going to be Cam Newton at the start. And you look at their opening schedule, first 5 games, they go Miami, New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay, Houston, Dallas. And then they got New York Jets the week after. If Cam Newton comes in there and doesn't screw up, I think they can win a heck of a lot of games right there. I think Cam Newton has the potential to actually be fully healthy for the first time in like like 3 seasons,
Yeah,
which I think is a big deal. And he finally has a lot of weapons. I mean, last year the only guy he had was Julian Edelman, and he was like on his last leg.
yeah,
So with all that said, I think Cam Newton's got a real chance to come in here as the week 1 starter, and then prove that he can stay. And then if Mac Jones gets the start at some point, maybe mid-season, I think Cam Newton still sees a role in the red zone, doing that option type of set that they have where
yeah,
does a lot of quarterback draws, which
yeah.
again gives him touchdown upside, takes away from Mac Jones' potential in the touchdown category. So it's really kind of one of those things where, even if Cam Newton gets benched, I still think he sees a Taysom Hill type of role.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think he's the perfect number two to a rookie quarterback, right? Like kind of like
Yeah,
what we saw with Fitzpatrick and Tua last year.
he's gonna
Uh,
give him some swagger. That's for damn sure.
I mean, I think week four is huge, man. You're hosting
Yeah,
Tampa Bay
it's gonna be
on
love. That's
prime
gonna be awesome.
time, 8:20. Man, you just got to think like Belichick's gonna be sitting there like, how the fuck do I win this game?
Yeah, he's gonna bring him everything in
Yeah,
of the world.
like
Like
uh, like
he
like if he
wants
thinks
Brady.
Mac if Cam's playing bad and he thinks Mac's
Mhm.
the guy, like he's gonna throw him out there versus
Oh
Brady.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. But dude,
uh,
is that too much for a young quarterback? Is that the
probably,
wrong spot to have
probably,
him? Think about
probably,
that.
yeah.
I mean, these
But what if he
tickets.
performs? Even
I
if they
mean, yeah,
don't
that's
win,
huge.
and they have he stands through the game and he plays a good game, and it's neck and neck or it's a shootout. I mean,
Yeah, we
yeah,
talked about it in the NFC South video, but these tickets were over $1,000 months ago, and if they all the commentators, all the press people, they want Mac Jones playing there.
Yeah.
The old versus the new, the era difference. I mean, that's what everybody wants. But
I
do
think
we get it? I don't know.
it's the biggest question mark about this team. To me at least, is what's going to happen there. So I think we're going to have a better sense as week one gets closer, obviously. But what do you think about this running back situation here? What's going on with your boy Damian Harris?
Yeah, Damian Harris. I'm pretty high on him. This is another Alabama boy. I think he's a hell of a player too. I actually really liked him when he was at Alabama. He reminded me of this just like three down back, not super exciting with how he runs, but he's kind of similar to, I would say, like a David Montgomery, who like I just like that style. They're just gonna be consistent. And
I'm
I think
all
one thing, yeah, you like
I'm
David and
uh
Damon?
yeah, I don't know who David is, bro, but
I got
man.
Montgomery still in my head. You know how much I love him. You know
I
how much I
dude, I
love
mean,
him.
I'm just whenever I look at the Pats running backs, I'm with James White, like that's my guy.
That's not bad, yo.
Yeah,
That is not a bad pick.
that's just I love James White. Like I think he's such a good football player. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, like I get why you picked Damien Harris. I think he is probably the best three down back on this roster. I'm not a
Mhm.
big Sony Michelle fan at all, but uh, James White. I mean, in terms of like fantasy, not to shift gears, but in fantasy, like I think he's still as good of a PPR back as he can draft. Like I don't understand why.
Hey, how much though? How much of that is dependent on Mac Jones being there? Because I think
Yeah,
if
yeah,
Mac Jones is there, that's even bigger.
yeah. I
And
agree.
Cam Newton looms over this running back core, similar to Josh Allen, who takes away those red zone touches.
Yeah,
Damian Harris with Mac Jones also sees a boost because he gets all those more red zone touches.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, and let's get back to James White because that is somebody I wanted to touch on today. But Damian Harris, I think with that two tight end set, I do think Bill Belichick loves this guy. This is a guy who coming into last offseason, Bill Belichick was gassing up and he's gassing him up again. This is a guy who I think is going to be the future of this Patriots team for a while. So let's get it going. None of this three back set bull crap. We got Rex
They've always done
Burkhead.
that though, dude. That's
It's
the
so
Pats way.
it's
It's the
annoying
Patriots
as
way. They
hell.
need like I'm surprised there's only three running backs on this roster, dude.
Dude, Patriots way, just like
You finally let
parallel. Yeah,
Rex Burkhead walk. Like
I know, but it's got to come to an end, man. Just like in basketball, you're seeing Popovich's old hardcore way of coaching people. It's coming to a dead zone. I mean, Bill Belichick, I think, is realizing that too, man. People aren't as excited to go to this Patriots team anymore. You
it's
got to
true.
let people be superstars. Damian
Yep.
Harris has been very vocal about wanting the touches. So yeah, I'm putting it all on black with Damian Harris. And I think the fact that you can get him at, running back number 25, ADP 68, great value. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
starting back for a Patriots team with a
Yeah.
solid O line.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think it's a great fantasy value this year and a little disrespected in fantasy terms as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Give
Um,
me your pitch for James White, though.
he's just he's a as good of a receiving back as we've seen in the league in the past couple of
Mm-hmm.
years. Like, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying, well, yeah, screw it. I am saying, I think he's probably the most valuable back on this roster.
Yeah.
But my pitch is, I just like the dude. He catches the football a lot. So sometimes you just trust a player, and I think like those gut instincts are important in fantasy terms as well. But
He's definitely
uh,
been the most consistent.
yeah, I mean, I'm just pulling it up. I mean, last year he definitely saw a drop off, with the way the offense changed. Like he did not have a good last year.
Mhm.
He didn't have a good year last year at all, right?
I think he
But
had some injuries or something too.
yeah, I mean, he still played in 14 games, so
Yeah.
it's pretty much the whole year. But I mean, in the 2 years before that, I mean, he has some wild stats, dude. Like he had at least five receiving touchdowns both years,
Mhm.
over 600 receiving yards. Like those are like third string receiver
Yeah.
stats, and he still had a couple like rushing touchdowns each year as well. So, I mean, I just like James White. I just think he's a good football player. I'm not really like
Dude, he
trying to
should have went
argue
to
it.
Tampa Bay, that man. I mean,
Yeah,
imagine if Tom Brady had
he
him
would
and
have been
not
a
Giovanni Bernard. Holy
he would
shit.
have
That
been a
running back
great,
core,
yeah,
I
great
would have
fit
taken him
there.
in fantasy. Damn.
Yeah, and Brady loved James White. Like
Oh
he
my
loved that
gosh.
dude.
Yeah. After James White
That
had
may have
that.
been probably the biggest part of his drop off in stats is like he just didn't have that chemistry with Cam. But
Yeah, and
Who
I
knows?
don't know if he gets it again either. But somebody
Yeah.
who I do think I'm gonna kick it to you and kind of let you introduce my pick at receiver, Hunter Henry. What are your thoughts on him? You seem like you're a little bit lower than I am. I think you like
I
Johnny Smith, though. I think you
I
like Johnny Smith.
I like both these dudes a lot. I think they're both really good football players. Like I'm all for both of them, but I just worry about like Patriots tight ends. Like if we're talking in terms of fantasy, like I just worry about tight ends on. I mean, like outside of Gronk, like in his prime in the past couple years, like ever since they've been trying to figure that out and like who to play while
Mhm.
Gronk is injured, while he was there, it's like I just don't want any part of it. You know.
They've been
Uh,
pretty whack though. Like the
sure.
guys, Izzo, Keen. I mean, I don't even know
Yeah,
these
yeah,
guys'
yeah.
first names.
And like I think Hunter Henry is like a baller. Like I think he's a great tight end.
Hmm.
I'm just worried because he's on the Patriots. Like, and I think he's a
Yeah,
good value. Like he's being pretty overlooked at like tight end number 17. And yeah, I do like Johnny Smith. Like I think that's one knock on the Titans. Like in terms of their roster, not to shift gears, but I think they kind of screwed up by letting Johnny Smith go, or at least not
they
re-solidifying that
yeah
position.
we talked about that in that
Yeah,
AFC
yeah,
South video. That was probably one of the biggest negative hits to their
yeah.
offseason, which otherwise was pretty damn solid. But
I mean, Johnny
uh,
Smith had over 400 receiving yards the last 2 years, which is like not the best, but he had 8 touchdowns last year.
yeah, and it's also
And
the way he does it too. He's so
yeah,
damn athletic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I do like Hunter Henry. Like I'm not knocking you picking him. I was just a little surprised because I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. This receiving core is pretty fucking awful. But like,
Yeah, it's
I
terrible.
yeah, I like your pick of Hunter Henry. I like that you picked him and that you're not, you're going a little against the grain here. So I just worry personally. Like it's just one of those personal vendetta
Yeah,
things.
I think the biggest beef I've always had with Hunter Henry, because this is a guy I've actually watched pretty closely throughout his career. Because back in 2016, the dude was a beast and jumped onto the scene his rookie year and was just like, oh, is this the next great tight end?
Yeah.
Since then, it's just been like this guy's been pretty injury plagued. So that's again something I'm majorly like worried about. He has never played a full 16 games. Last season, he started 14, played 14. Year before that, he had 12. So that's something I'm going to be closely monitoring because one of the
Yeah.
dangers in a New England system is if you're not available and you're not consistent, Bill
Yeah.
Belichick will find a way to make you disappear. And just because
Yeah.
he threw around all this money doesn't mean that he's going to be like, oh,
Oh no.
yeah, like I got to feed you. No, no,
Yeah.
Bill Belichick does not give a shit. And that's
Yeah.
why Tom Brady's not on that team
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. So speaking of inconsistencies, so like, why you hate on my guy Nelson Aguilar?
Because he is that inconsistent. There's that funny video of in
Yeah.
Philadelphia when he was talking about the babies falling out the window and he's catching them and he's like, only
Yeah.
receivers could do that. One of the
I
funniest damn videos ever.
I'm just like sold on the fact that this is their number one receiver this year.
Yeah, but
Like it's just like my gut feeling.
yeah, I mean he was good. He was good with Vegas last year. I mean,
He was, yeah.
yeah, he was good, and I do think if he stays healthy, I mean, I could see him catching some deep bombs from Mac and Cheese or Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's my guy. I know you're kind of favoring Jacoby Myers still, but
Yeah,
he had
and
zero
yeah, I think
scores last year, so
he has zero scores, but what does that tell me? That tells me positive regression. I think this is a guy who is
so he
a
might score
target
one
hog.
touchdown this year.
He might get that one, but that one is going to change the damn game. No, but I do. This guy target hog. He kind of reminds me of a Sterling Shepard, and I think he's consistent. I think Cam Newton really liked him, and the fact that he continually earned the respect of Bill Belichick through the season. I mean, he was at one point like the only receiver they had.
Sure.
I think he's still gonna be right back in the mix. I think he's gonna be there more available for maybe Nelson Aguilar will, just because Nelson's had some injury history. But yeah, outside of those two guys, I mean, I don't know. I'm not loving their actual wide receivers, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean I'm not either, obviously, but I think the biggest thing with this team is they made a lot of effort to improve in the
Mhm.
offseason, and I do think that they did that, and I think they drafted well, and I think they've still got Bill Belichick, and I think this is Bill's most
That's a
important
big deal
year.
too.
Yeah, I think it's his most important year as a head coach. So I think we're both excited for this team. Like we obviously don't care if they win or if they lose, and we'd rather see them lose because we've seen them win so much the past like 40 years. But
Mhm.
yeah, it'll be an interesting year, and I hope Fat Mac comes out and just starts balling.
I do too. You know, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Mac Jones ends up being the guy. I will say this: ever since the split, the divorce between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, everybody knows I'm actually a bigger fan of Bill Belichick now. Hell of a guy, dude. I love him. I love him. Actually, I got this book. It like spells out the Patriots dynasty. The Jeff Benedict wrote it. It's called Dynasty. I got that for Christmas, and it's been a good book, and I recommend it because it really is so interesting to dive in deep on a team like the Patriots, who has been maybe one of the best sports teams of all time, and it really stems from a guy like Bill Belichick.
You heard it here. Steven is a Pats fan now, so let's
Not a
go
Pats
ahead.
fan, not a Pats fan, but a Bill Belichick fan. Yes.
Let's dive into a descendant of the Belichick tree and Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins. So uh, here's the big kind of the cloud looming over Miami. You know, the hurricane cloud is Justin Herbert, right? It's like if you're a Miami
Mhm.
fan, you're like
I gotta have
just
that
looking.
guy.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
sexy flow. Gotta
I
have
know.
that.
Well, he cut it right, but you know,
It's been going back.
yeah, yeah. What do you think about Tua? Like, I just want to get your thoughts because, like, uh, yeah, actually, I'll start. Like, I don't hate Tua as much. Like, I understand that he didn't play that well last year, and like he didn't play the whole season,
Mhm.
so we kind of have like a weird like outlook on him. Obviously, I think Herbert is better.
Yeah.
I'm not like debating that at all, but like I think that there's a lot of reason to believe that Tua is going to have a much better year this year, and I think that he still has that talent to where if he can get it together, he can play like as well as like a Kyler Murray. Like, like I,
Oof.
I just don't understand
Oof.
like why there's like
Mm.
I understand why, but I'm just like, don't you think that there's that talent is still there? Like Tank for Tua was a thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like is it the injury? Is something off with the mechanics? Like I don't know. And they did so
Here,
much. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you
yeah,
go.
here's my philosophy or my theory on this guy, right? I do think that injury. Listen, this was an injury that ended Herschel Walker's career. Or yeah, I believe it was Herschel Walker or Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson, yeah, the
Same guy. Yeah.
greatest athlete of all time, maybe. I don't believe he was the greatest running back of all time. I don't put that out there. But needless to say, yeah, Tank for Two was a real thing. But this guy had a very serious injury that I think people just rubbed off and just like, you know what? Everybody recovers from stuff now. You know, you got Kevin Durant recovering from Achilles injuries and coming back, being the best player. Nah, man, like that, it hits people differently every single way. I think he got rushed back, but bigger than that, I think there's something character wise a little bit off with this guy. And I'm not talking about like, I think this guy's a bad dude by any means, but it came out recently that I guess he didn't have a good grasp of the playbook.
Yeah, but he
And
admitted that.
no. Yeah. That's cool. But A, that's your job, right? B, it's weird because I remember him saying before the season started that it was actually a lot easier to digest than college at Alabama. So
You're right. Yeah.
seems like he really flipped the script once the narrative changed. So for me, it's like, okay, what actually is the case? But at the same time, too, both Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith vouched for Mac Jones, whereas they did not vouch for Tua, and they said that Mac Jones is better than Tua
Hmm.
and they liked playing for him more than Tua. So, and if I were the Dolphins, I would not have drafted Jalen Waddle if he said that. But those kind of things kind of throw me off. I'm not sure that like this is the kind of things I want to be hearing from a guy who's supposed to be our franchise quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, character can change, right?
it can change, but also,
I
did you
think,
see the team rally around this guy after Ryan Fitzpatrick went out? I didn't see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I saw it go inwards. They knew he wasn't the clear better guy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember them making that change, and I didn't really like it because like we were
It was
playing really well
ridiculous.
as a team, and Fitzpatrick was balling. But I also kind of respect the decision. Like, this is a guy we drafted him. This is our future. We're not re-signing Fitzpatrick, so let's
Mhm.
just get this going. But at the same time, like they would bench Tua and put Fitzpatrick back out there, so that was a little confusing as well, to like trying to garner that respect. But
Yeah, and
uh,
they are in actively this Deshaun Watson sweepstakes.
yeah, that's true.
I'm
That's
not
true.
too sure. I think there's a split. This is again my theory, but I do
Yeah.
believe there is some sort of split here between ownership and front office and the coaches because I don't think the coaches are with Tua. But I think that, after what they invested into Tua, the fact that they got their quote unquote guy, they got that tank for Tua guy, they want him to play. They want him to start. But I don't know anymore, man. I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if it's anything, it's like I won't be surprised if they move on to a different quarterback. Like even if they draft another quarterback, because that's what teams do now. Josh Rosen was on this team at a point, right? And that's kind of
Yeah.
like, the prime example of just moving on from a guy and forgetting he existed, right? But so I guess my question around Tua would be like from a fantasy perspective, he's QB number 23 overall, going around on average like pick number 138.
Mhm.
Do you think he's worth drafting at all after kind of them, adding all these receivers, getting a little
Yeah,
wild in
but
the offseason?
yeah, but that's also, I mean, if you think about how I just shit on him, I shit on him as I don't think he's the future of this team. I
Yeah.
don't think he is going to be a guy that's going to be transcendent. Um, but I think this offense, if healthy, is loaded. This is a very good team. I love Flores as a coach. So I don't mind getting a quarterback at discount that's getting to throw to get to these guys. I mean, Will
I actually
Fuller
like
another guy.
I guess I should put this out there. My trio is going to be Tua, Miles Gaskin, and I went with Will Fuller at receiver
Yeah,
one. Um, uh, and I'll let you go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you to say that.
yeah, you piece of shit. No, no. What I was gonna say is just that, like, I'll take a discounted player
Yeah.
there, but I damn sure I'm gonna have another quarterback that I'm taking as my QB
Well, I
one.
was interested with what you're going to say before I went, uh, but I kind of want to draft Tua now.
Is this
Like
just to be contrarian? I don't
yeah,
understand.
like as
Is
like
this a stupid
my
take? This
last
is
pick in the
okay.
dude. I always have stupid takes though, so I'm just like I just
Yeah,
kind of want to back it and like have him on my squad. And I don't know, man. He might be good. He's got like 19 receivers, so I do think like a bigger issue on this offense, on this offense is Miles Gaskin because
mm.
like we've seen the flashes there. He's a very good receiving back. 47 targets last year, 41 receptions. I mean, two scores off that, just under 400 yards. I mean, those are good numbers,
He's a
right?
three down back, dude. He's a three
Yeah,
down
he only
back.
played 10 games, and I think it's a big test for him as a player too. Like, can he step up and can he be an RB1 or not?
I think he
Um,
can.
yeah, and I think when you look at their depth chart, they've got Malcolm Brown and Savon Ahmed, which like aren't the best. I'm not saying they're good running backs. What I'm
I
saying
like
is,
Ahmed. I like Ahmed,
well, they're
but I'm making that face to
serviceable.
Brown.
They're serviceable running backs. Like they will
Yeah,
take touches.
yeah.
So I don't, and like yeah, I think Ahmed's a decent running back too. Like they're
He
definitely
is.
both. They can do something, right? So
Yeah.
I think like there's some pressure there if you're Miles Gaskin, and I think the run game is something that Tua is going to need, like to kind of calm things down, to not put all the pressure on him as well, because like. When you move to the receivers on the squad, obviously you signed Will Fuller.
Mhm.
You've still got Devontae Parker, who I think we're both big fans of Devontae Parker when he is healthy. At least
Oh,
I
I
know.
love him. I
I'll just
love him,
say I know
dude.
he was on your
I
squad
love him.
and that was like your favorite waiver wire 2019 when like no one expected this Dolphins receiver just to ball out, right? And I think Jalen Waddle is going to be like I think it's going to be very very good. I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch it, and like I don't know if he's going to be a number one receiver. Like I think he brings that speed, and he's going to add to Will Fuller.
Dude, I wish he went somewhere else, like not to
Yeah,
a team with five receivers. Like I wish he went somewhere where he could have been like Philadelphia would have been sick. Like
and
a team like that.
I don't disagree. Yeah, and I love Mike Gesicki. Like I think he's a great tight end.
Yeah.
I think the addition of these receivers is actually going to help him because
Hmm.
there's going to be less pressure on him. And I know, like when you start to add a lot of offensive power, a lot of people say, "Well, that hurts because there's less targets." But sometimes you can look at it in the opposite, where when there's more people around and more for the defense to focus on, then it opens it up for certain people. And I think he's going to benefit. I think he's going to have a good year. I think if you watch any of our fantasy mock drafts, anything I've done on tight ends, like I like this dude a lot. So I like this offense a lot, but I am kind of worried. Like I think Devontae Parker is going to be a great slot receiver if he's healthy. Uh, but I just don't know if they have like a true number one receiver. Like even when you break down past those guys we named, like you've still got Preston Williams, Albert Wilson, Mac Hollins,
That's so
and
stacked, dude.
Alan Hearns and Jakeem Grant. Like they
Dude,
have.
Jakeem Grant's no
This
slouch,
is
bro.
like a Madden team that I would build just based on
Yeah.
speed. Like and
Yeah.
like yeah, so they've got a lot of receivers, and I think that was a smart move, like in terms of helping Tua out.
Well, because
Uh,
they're putting it all in black with this guy. Like I say, like
yeah,
it's either put up or shut up.
yeah,
I do think if Tua doesn't put up this year, he's done. Like
yeah,
it's not like we're gonna start working on a quarterback. I think he's done.
yeah. And hey, I mean, if it doesn't work out, you got the brisket on the depth
Oh
chart,
baby,
bro. You got
Jacoby
Jacoby
brisket.
brisket, baby.
Put some
So
barbecue on it.
yeah, yeah.
Put some
So like
barbecue
like
on
it's all good, right? So
it.
uh, a great signing, in my opinion. And your
Oh hell yeah!
Colts.
I'm missing him. I'm missing him
Did you know
bad.
Carson? Do you know about Carson Wentz? Because he's hurt, and you
Yeah,
could have
I heard that.
Jacoby
I
Brissett
heard
on your
that.
team.
I heard
But
that. Yeah.
hey, I do think like they've made some, the front office, whoever has made some questionable moves in the past couple of years, but they made a lot of good moves too. And I do think this defense is still going to be very good. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. I think they've got, some areas they still need to address aren't as good as other areas. They let
Well,
go
I'm
some pass
I'm gonna stop you
rushers.
from talking.
Yeah.
Xavier Howard. What the hell?
Okay, yeah, and that's probably like the best way to cap off this team for the night is like that's a big issue, right? For a lot of different reasons, but mainly from a locker room standpoint, being the biggest problem here is like if this dude doesn't want to play for your team, that's going to affect the chemistry of this team. It's going to affect the
Mhm.
defense overall, and this is hands down your best defensive player as well. So
Yeah.
it's a big problem. And it's definitely concerning, but like at the same time, I think that this defense is still going to be elite. I think they're, like in my opinion, the biggest reason why they won 10 games last year and why they had such a good year.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And I think this team is, as we close these guys out, I think this is a team that's saying, look, we got a great foundational defense put into place here, but it's time to focus on the offense, time to make this offense what carries our team to winning.
yeah,
So, you know what? Let's save some cap because Xavier Howard led the league in picks and also is going to be demanding top dollar. I mean,
yeah,
right up there with the Ramses, all that. So, you know what? We can't afford it. Let's go, let go now. He's already getting kind of older in age too. So I see why they may have done that, but hell
what
of a
a good
loss.
what a good landing spot that would be, the LA Rams. I don't think they have any
Ah,
cap, but that would just be
they don't.
scary.
They don't.
Uh,
But that would be disgusting. I don't know where the heck he's going to
yeah,
go. Maybe Pittsburgh. I don't know. But yeah, either way, that's going to hit them pretty hard.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Jets jersey, who you got tonight?
I got Joe Namath. What Zach Wilson aspires to.
Do you
You know,
think
the
do you think that's what he aspires to?
I think I don't know honestly. This
Yeah,
this this
yeah.
Mormon character, coming from BYU, maybe he doesn't
Steve
aspire to
Young,
be
man.
Joe Namath.
Steve
Yeah,
Young. That's hey, kind of some similarities too. Break
dude,
down
this
this Jets
guy,
team. J E
dude, this
T
is
S.
ass.
Yeah.
No,
Break it
dude,
down.
I actually am really pumped about this team going forward. I don't think they're yet there yet. You know what I mean? It's almost similar to like when we were breaking down the NFC South, like the Panthers, hella upside, right? But even more with the Jets because they got a quarterback who I think has a lot of raw upside potential, very athletic dude. Problem is, I'm thicker than him. He's skinny as hell. He's small.
That's saying a
And
lot, like for our viewers out
yeah,
there
yeah,
deciding.
I'm pretty tiny. Okay, barely standing over 5 foot right here. So my point is, I mean, they were dropping highlights from him at training camp. He's throwing all these cool damn passes and everything, but everyone's commenting that would have been a sack. And the bottom line is, dude, like this guy gets hit one too many times. It could be rough. I mean, he's a little bit taller than Kyler, I think, but he looks like he's 10. It's hard for me to look at this guy like a franchise quarterback, but
Yeah, like I think the talent's certainly there. I think Jets fans are like everything I've looked into, like they're super stoked about Zach Wilson. Um, but like I just think the situation is so bad. Like
yeah,
it's scary, dude. It's the
dude, but
Jets.
there
Like
you get rid of that gross shit
uh,
stain and Adam Gase,
let's not
though,
even
man.
let's not even get
No,
into
no, no.
Adam
But
Gase.
you have to get into Adam Gase
Uh,
because getting rid of him is like acquiring like
it is.
$1 billion in
Yeah,
gold. I
I
mean, this
when
guy is awful. How is
yeah.
he a coach and we aren't coaches? Shit.
I mean I still think that was the day they announced him as their head coach. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like it's gonna be 2 or 3 years of misery.
This
Like
guy looked like a cokehead in every single interview.
yeah,
So I
I
was
mean
like,
I
it's
think
nuts,
the Duke can coach like from an offensive standpoint, like on a small scale, like a QB coach,
bro.
obviously, right?
No.
Like no, like to some degree, like but I just think like I don't think there's been like a worse head coach candidate. Like I just some people aren't meant to be a head coach. Like it's so much more than being a
Dude,
coordinator or a coach. But
or
like
riding the coattails of Peyton Manning like every other freaking coordinator that's
yeah,
been
yeah,
involved with him. I'm so sick of that,
yeah,
dude.
okay,
Like
yeah, I
Peyton
get what
ran
you're
the
saying.
offense.
Yeah, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
disagree with all that. Yeah, 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 I don't. But
But
like I think obviously like they're improving in terms of their head coach. I think like uh,
oh yeah, I love him, dude.
I think like here's my note like on this team. It has nothing to do with the offense, and I'll let you break that down.
Hmm.
But like for me, the biggest positive for the Jets is C.J. Mosley is coming back after like tearing his groin or whatever. After they paid him, all that paid him a bag, and then the next season he opted out for COVID. Like,
Oh, dude, this guy's a
dude,
robber.
remember
He's a
that
thief.
that first quarter game against the Bills where he had like two picks, a fumble, and like 19 tackles and a
He's
sack?
a dog. He
Like
is a dog.
he went insane, and like just don't forget that dude's gonna be leading the offense this year. And like I do think they have some other good defensive players as well. So I think their front seven's good. And I think C.J. Mosley leading that's going to be a huge positive. But I will let you break down this offense to cap out our night
Quentin
too.
Wilson, Quentin
Yeah,
Williams is definitely a beast, but they
yeah,
also signed Carl Lawson, who I think is going to be hopefully what the Jets fans have been looking for some time now, which is an edge rusher that can do something because they haven't had a great edge rusher in some time.
yeah.
But yeah, man, I think, I said I was excited about this Jets team. Let me just reiterate real quick. It is not about this season. This is a team that I think you can maybe get some dynasty value out of the fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
But also, I just think has some young, raw talent. I mean, I love Elijah Moore. I
Yeah.
love Michael Carter. And I don't love Zach Wilson, but I think he's got good upside. And with the right situation, a LaFleur offense, I think maybe he does better than past quarterbacks. I mean,
Well, I
so I
mean, it's
think
not much like to compare to.
exactly,
That's Joe
But
Namath. So
honestly, though, and Joe Namath, I love him, but some could say yeah, I'm not going to get into that debate,
yeah,
but yeah, no, I think I think when you look at this team, the biggest takeaways for me are this is a team that lost Adam Gase and now has
say
maybe a
nothing
fresh,
more. It's a
yeah, it
better
has a
team.
fresh,
Yeah,
yeah, it has a fresh start though. And I mean, you look at this receiving core, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Jamison Crowder, Keelan Cole, who has been good. And then also Denzel Mims, who I think is probably the odd man out of this receiving core, even though they just drafted him, but
yeah,
training camp bus has not been great. And then at running
yeah,
back, currently the starter's Tevin Coleman, but if you're a football fan and you know rosters and stuff, Tevin Coleman doesn't stay healthy.
yeah, yeah.
So he's going to get bumped out here pretty soon for running back that I picked in my group. And that is Michael Carter, who I think
Yeah.
is going to be a certified dog, rookie running back from UNC.
I think he's gonna have a good year. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael Carter. So obviously I'm picking Zach Wilson, not much of
Yeah,
other, option there. But at running back, I'm picking Michael Carter. ADP 110, running back 39. This is a guy I took in our joint fantasy draft, and definitely a guy that I'm going to be targeting late in drafts and every single one of my drafts
He
because this
fits the
is
uh, he fits the bill of players that you draft in fantasy, like to a
yeah,
T.
it does because once you get to that mid to late rounds, what you're looking for is upside. But hell, I'm also looking for a starting running back, and this is a 3 down back. He's got great pass catching abilities. This is a guy who's been lighting it up in camp, and I think this is a team that really, outside of Tevin Coleman, like I said, they've got no other options. And this has a solid O line too.
Yeah.
Becton on tackle, the Vera Tucker, the guy they just signed at guard. And then they got McGovern at center. I mean, they are building a very, very strong line, which is probably the main reason I like this Jets team for the future.
Yeah, I think they're moving in the right direction. Certainly, I think they're building from the ground up, getting some players on both sides in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
So I do, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic if you're a Jets fan. But I also am going to double down on your position. It's not this year,
Now,
it's not. And I think I like Corey Davis from a receiver standpoint, but I also kind of worry, like at the same time. Like I've been taking him in a lot of mock drafts because you get him so late, and I actually think Jamison Crowder is relatively undervalued this year as
he
well.
is. He
And a
is.
lot of people, like those younger receivers on this team to be kind of fantasy, to kind of
Dude,
rise through
Elijah
the year.
Moore is so dang good, dude.
He
He's
was,
so
yeah,
good.
he was great in
He's
Ole Miss,
so
yeah.
good.
So I'm not gonna disagree with that, but like I do worry about Corey Davis too. Like he's never really
Mm-hmm.
been a number one receiver, and I think there are some people around him where he could still kind of play that stretch the field type of role. But yeah, I don't see any signs to where this is like the year where the Jets have a drastic improvement. But they don't need to have a drastic improvement. Like they just need to improve and finally get out of like the whole of the NFC East, like the laughing
Mm-hmm.
stock. Because like we've seen the Bills come out of that to like a large degree. We've seen the Pats are going to be relevant. We've seen Miami come out of was a complete laughing stock in the past couple of years. So it's just the Jets hanging at the bottom there, and they've got to
Yeah.
find a way to get out. So I think they're moving in the right direction. So certainly a lot
Yeah.
of optimism there.
And I get your downplay on Corey Davis. I think the reason I chose him as my wide receiver one out of this group is just because I do think he has the most wide receiver one kind of profile written on him for right now.
I
This
don't
is Elijah
disagree.
Moore's. Yeah, this is Elijah Moore's team, but no questions about it. This is a guy who a lot of people thought, shit, this might be the best receiver in the draft. That he's got that kind of upside here. But Corey Davis, I think coming off that season he had with Tennessee, maybe they paid him a little bit too much, but this is a good receiver. I think he has a really good chance here to make a name for himself. But Jameson Crowder, I definitely think is being undervalued. He's still going to come in here as the PPR machine.
Sure.
This guy's been a killer PPR over the past couple of years. He took a pay cut to stay with these guys because he was on the outs. They were going to let him go. And I kind of wish they did let him go, but they weren't going to think about getting rid of him because they didn't like him. It was just kind of his cap hit and everything. You know how it works.
Yeah.
But
Hey, former Washington football team player right there, man.
dude, and Duke, man, shout out to our boy Gavin,
Yeah,
Blue
yeah.
Devil.
Shout out Gavin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, let's get in these over and unders. I'm actually like I said, like this division has me still torn. Like I won't be surprised. Like I think the Bills will win this division, right? But
Yeah.
couldn't you see three of these squads going to the playoffs? Like I know you're not that big on the Dolphins, but I could.
Yeah, man. No, dude, I'm not. I'm gonna just.
Well,
I'm,
let's start with the Bills. Like let's kind of look at the schedule here because
yeah,
the DraftKings got them at 11 wins this year. But you look at the schedule, man, and like if you don't think the Bills are a Super Bowl favorite or like the second best team in the AFC,
hmm.
I mean, like there's a lot of winnable games here, and like there are
Oh
some easy
yeah.
games, but they still play some really good teams this year, and some of those like those middle of the ground teams that like Washington week 3 is like a team that's like uh, the Bills are definitely a better football team, but Washington is a much better defense, and it's going to be an interesting game to see. We've seen what a lot of these front sevens can do to some of these like really explosive teams, like the Chiefs
Hmm.
last year against the Bucks. So, like I'll still take the over because I believe in what the Bills can do.
Yeah.
I'll take them like right at 12 wins, but I think the ceiling is higher than that. Yeah, even with them playing, so many good teams. But I don't know if you have any differing opinions there.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is the two divisions they play outside of their own division, and that is the AFC South, which is extremely weak after the Carson Wentz injury. Getting to beat up on Houston, Jacksonville, they might have the chance to beat up on Indy. Where the roster is getting bleak, and then they obviously have to play Tennessee. That's tough, but
Yeah.
and then they play the let's see who they play are the NFC South. So
Yeah.
they get to beat up on the Saints. They get to beat up on the Panthers. They get to beat up on
But
the
I think
Falcons.
I think a lot of
I'm not
those.
saying they're bad teams, but
Yeah, yeah,
these
no, no.
guys, these defenses have not
Yeah,
been
yeah.
great over the past couple of years.
You're
So
right. You're right.
I'm just saying, there's a good chance here that this could go in their favor. This is definitely not one of the hardest schedules. Certainly not like the NFC North had.
Yeah, you're right. I just think like there's a lot of sneaky teams that they play this year and a lot of really good teams. So I'm still going to take the over. Like I just sat
Mm-hmm.
here and counted
Me
like how
too.
many how many of these teams can they beat, and like yeah, I still think they're going to win like 11 plus games this year. So, but I just I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people are thinking. Is all. Especially
Yeah.
because I still think like moving on the Dolphins, you are like at 9.5 wins, like and then the Pats, before we even jump into them, are at 9 wins too. Like
Mhm.
it's gonna be a relatively close division. Like there are people out there who think the Bills won't finish first in this division because, and it's gonna boil down obviously to the conference games.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just say right now with the Dolphins, I'm actually taking the under on that. I think this Patriots team is going to be a lot better than Vegas is accounting for right now. And I'm not a fan of Tua. I'm not a fan of putting it all with him. And I think this is a team that is going to do worse than last year, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I'm taking the under of that 9.5.
I'm taking the over, baby. Miami
Oh
Dolphins.
wow!
Tank for Tua. Let's
Oh
go.
my gosh, dude. You
I
have
have
been all on this guy, dude. Holy
yeah.
crap.
Yeah. Hey, I just think that there's a chance that he can have that sophomore year. And dude, like I'm probably gonna be wrong, but like I just think that everyone's counting out this team, counting out
Hmm.
like I think that the offensive core is there and that the defense is still good enough that Tua doesn't. I mean, he needs to improve. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't
Yeah,
have to
he
be.
does.
He does not have to be exceptional for this team to win a lot of games. So I'm hopping on the bandwagon here with Miami just because like I want
Hmm.
to argue about this all year with you is really the main thing. And they play a London game, so they've got like a free win on the year against Jacksonville. So that's at
Oh
least
my
one
gosh,
game
yeah.
so like I'm feeling confident, but
Get
uh,
that international.
I do think when you look at this schedule, like I think it's just a weird schedule to me. Like it's like just a lot of like kind of middle ground, like crappy teams, and then like Tennessee and Buffalo twice, and like I want to say Indy because I still think they have a good defense,
They gotta
um,
play
but
they gotta play
you're off.
Baltimore and Tampa.
Well, I was about to say, then like obviously, yeah, like you've got the reigning Super Bowl champs, and then you got Lamar in there too. But I could definitely see them. If they can't win divisional games, it's going to be a tough year for them. But I'm taking the over.
Hmm.
I'm getting on DraftKings right now. How do I teach me how to
Hitting
bet?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I'll teach you to be a gambler.
yeah.
The vice here it comes.
But
Um,
and I think that's a good way to segue in the Pats because I
yeah,
think
I love this. I love
yeah.
them.
Yeah, well, like I think for me, like if I take the over on the Dolphins, I can't take the over on the Pats. Like it's not realistic in terms. So I'll take the under on the Pats. I'll take them starting Cam, and it doesn't work out, and they got to throw Fat Mac out there, and he,
That might
has to
not
have.
work out either. So
Yeah, well,
I get that scenario.
I think you have to understand with rookie quarterbacks, like they can be very good. Like Justin Herbert was very good last year, but they didn't win a lot of football games.
Hmm.
Like the expectation
Yeah, that's a good point.
the expectation isn't necessarily to win a lot of football games. It's to prove that you can play at the level.
Yeah,
Like I think Baker is another good example. Like they won a fair amount of football games when he started as a rookie, but like it wasn't really about like they were the Browns. Like they just needed if they won 5 or 6 games, that's an
that was
improvement.
huge.
But
Yeah,
the bigger thing is that we found our fucking guy. Like we know Baker's our
yeah,
guy. Like we're set at the QB
yeah,
position, and I
yeah.
think that's the bigger aspect here. in my opinion, like as long as Mac Jones comes out, if and when he does play, and he can prove that he's the guy, like that's the biggest thing. Because then it's like, oh well, uh, we can keep Belichick. Maybe Bill will stick around for 6 more years or 10 more years just to see what he can do with Mac Jones and just to prove that he doesn't have to have Brady behind the helm. So I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why I'll take the under is because I don't think they have to win that many games. I think they're certainly capable of it, but hey, to a train,
Yeah, I
baby.
mean, yeah, piece of shit. No, the reason I'm taking them Pats over is just because like I said, I think getting everybody back from COVID opt outs, having that defense fully healthy, and then getting an offense that's revamped, even though if I don't totally agree with who they signed, I think it's better than what they had last year. I mean, the fact that Jacoby Myers was not like your best, but your only option, that's an issue, yo.
Yeah.
And so they come out here, they make some signings. And I'm putting it. I believe in Bill Belichick. I believe he could go out there with me and you on the field, and we'd win nothing. But but
Same.
but Bill Belichick. I mean, he's the best of all time, and I do think this is a guy that is going to win at least 9. You could bake it in for 10 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, too, like you're hearing my argument. I'm really just putting all my chips with Bill Belichick. But it's worked out his whole career. So you know what? I'm not going to shy away from it.
So I mean, then you got Robert Sala leading Jets, Jets, right? So it's like, what do you think about? I mean, DraftKings got the Jets at 6 wins. I mean, do you think that's too optimistic?
No, I mean, I think that's about right. I mean, I'm probably still hitting the under, but I don't think that's like too intense.
Yeah.
I mean, I
They
think
they
they're
don't
probably
really
like a
have
five
like
win
a
team.
they don't have a very difficult schedule, in my opinion, at least. Like you've got good
No,
teams
like
on there, and you've got a lot of middle ground teams that are like Denver, but you've got some bad teams on there too. So
just for just for fun, let's look at these guys' first 5 games. Where is Zach Wilson's first career win? Um, Opening up against Carolina. What do you think there?
I think
I
Carolina's
think.
got a sneaky good defense. Like
I mean,
I don't see them
I
winning that
got.
game.
Yeah, I think Carolina wins. Then they play New England. Don't see them winning that game. They play Denver week 3. I think that's about as good of a chance as you're going to get. You're
I don't know,
saying
man.
no,
I
though.
think that Denver defense is a little sneaky.
They might be able to eat them up. Yeah, they might be able to eat them up. Well, it's certainly not going to happen week 4 against
I
Tennessee.
don't know. I mean, if you're gonna argue that they can beat Denver, Tennessee's defense is really not that good, man.
Yeah, but you ain't
I
beating
think
the
you have.
Tennessee offense,
I
bro.
think you have a better. No, yeah, I don't disagree. I think you've got a better chance week 5
Atlanta.
because that. But where is that a London game?
Yep,
I
I
think
think
it
so.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I think you got a better chance of a shootout with Matt Ryan and two defenses not showing up. In my opinion, out of those first 5 games for the bye week, that's your best chance. And then I
Yeah,
think
and
you're
the point of that really is to show that like this is a team that is going to be struggling still,
yeah, yeah.
But I'm hopeful for the Zach Wilson kid because I'm hopeful for the Jets
I didn't know you were a Jets fan before tonight, but you've proven you like 2 things: Bill Belichick and Joe
and the
Namath.
Jets.
Yeah, Jets
Yeah, oh, I
history.
love me some Joe Namath,
I
bro.
do think Week 16 is going to be a fun game. Barring any injuries, to watch Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence and Zach Wilson. I mean, rookie QBs going against each other is always fun, but I do
Hmm.
think the back half of this, outside of Cincy, I think is winnable. Houston and Philly, I think, are winnable, as well as New Orleans. And then you do have some divisional games, including Buffalo in Week 18, which may not be an important game for Buffalo. Like I just said, you've got Jacksonville. So I think there's some winnable games there, but I think the first, before the bye week is a tough stretch, and I think there's some tough games. So I'll take the under two, just because
Yeah.
I think we should agree on something tonight. Be nice. But hey, when I think of this division now, Miami, baby. Sunset.
Ooh.
So yeah,
Yeah,
hey man,
buddy.
this is going to be an interesting division. Like I said, I think this is the most interesting division that we've talked about so far. And
Mhm.
I am excited, to watch this kind of play out throughout the year. And
Me too. Me
yeah,
too.
yeah, absolutely. So we will wrap things up. Anything else you want to add for the night?
Next week, we're jumping into the NFC East. I mean, we get to talk about our home team and the Washington football team. I'm excited about that. Get to see Chase Young, get to talk about him eating up some quarterbacks, maybe injuring Joe Burrow again. So I'm definitely excited about that, yo.
Little dark, man. Little dark.
Yeah, we getting at it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Washington all day. Yeah, let's do it. So we thank you very much for watching and or listening. If you did enjoy this little podcast here, please go ahead and smash that like button and consider subscribing for more future content like this, as well as much more fantasy content. We are super excited to come back at you next week, like we said, with the NFC East. Goodbye from myself, John, and I will let you say goodbye as well, Steven.
Yeah, see you later, geriatric priest.
Okay, very good.